Hello, I'm Don Phipps, Superintendent of the Caldwell County Schools, and I would like to welcome you to this edition of Profiles. On today's show, we'll have two segments. Our first segment will be comprised of conversations with Amy Philyaw, who is the Director of STEM Education in the Caldwell County Schools, and our second segment will involve Dr. Kim Case, who is our Coordinator of Innovation and Online Education. Again, thank you for joining us, and we know this will be an exciting program for you. We'll begin with Amy. Amy, thank you for being with me today.
Thank you for having me.
Now, I mentioned the word STEM, and there are a lot of terms in education that go around, and some kind of come and go, but STEM's been here for a while, and I know some folks will put the A in it for arts, but could you talk a little bit about the term STEM and what it really means?
Well, the term that everyone recognizes is that STEM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math, and it could have the A in it for STEAM to incorporate arts or agriculture or arithmetic even sometimes. But I see it beyond that. I see it as a way of thinking, innovative way of thinking, design thinking, getting students to think out of the box and use those higher order thinking skills to incorporate all of that curriculum into it.
So if a teacher were doing a STEM activity, quote unquote STEM, it shouldn't be outside of the curriculum. It should be incorporated in what students are doing and work across the curriculum. Is that correct?
Definitely. It can reach all standards across all curriculum. It's a way of reaching students to get them to think higher and use those skills that they really need in the workforce, those 21st century skills.
So if you were going into a school and offering some STEM activities for students to do, what might that be comprised of?
Well, let's say we went into a social studies class that's studying Native Americans, that we may enhance that lesson by talking about the designs that they use to build their homes and have the students engineer the different type of Native American homes that they're studying in, say, 4th grade curriculum.
Where does robotics and coding and things like that come into play?
So we've actually been doing a lot of coding in the school system using robotics, Ozobots. Students learn directional codes, how to make them go forwards. They can learn math skills through coding. They can do arithmetic, they can do multiplication. They can even learn coding language like Blockly or Scratch or JavaScript, depending on the level the student's at. And you can incorporate that in any type of curriculum, from English language arts to mathematics to science.
As I go around schools, I like to ask questions of students, and one of the questions is, what are you thinking about doing when you get out of high school? And what I'm hearing from a lot of boys and girls now is engineering. What are some engineering types of activities that might be something that a person would see in a classroom with the work that you do?
Well, we have students engineering all the time, from summer camps to going into the classroom. So with 8th grade, we recently went into William Lenoir and had them engineer a virus vector to block out a pandemic. So engineering can be something where you're building a bridge, but it also can be more in depth than that, so that you're looking at biological engineering and how scientists work in the field to try to find ways to stop, like, the spread of the flu.
And all that goes back to being a way of thinking, correct?
Yes.
Very good. Well, we're appreciative of that work. Now, we made a move last year where we moved out of the Patterson Science Center and moved that over to the Freedman Center. Can you talk to us a little bit about the move and where that's left you all and what you're working on right now? Because we also reduced staff as well.
We did reduce staff, but we are still doing the same amount that we did before. We see students every day going into the classroom more than them coming to us. The ones that do come to us are outside of our district, like Morganton Day School or schools in Watauga County. And we still frequent schools a lot: Lower Creek, Gamel, William Lenoir, Granite, Dudley. All of the schools within our district have us. They just have to be patient and know that there's 2 of us instead of 4 of us.
Now, what about the equipment? I know there was quite a bit of materials and equipment that had to be moved. Do you have that available to you now to be able to use when you need it?
We do, and it's inventoried. So it's in Google spreadsheets. It's going to be shared on the STEM department website so that teachers will have access to check it out.
Now, for a teacher who may not be aware of the services that you provide, can you talk a little bit about that?
We have 2 websites. Patterson Science Center still has all of our normal stuff so that it's not being moved and they know exactly where to find it. And then there's another website called the STEM department, where we are starting to house all of the modules that we've created over the last 8 years, and that's about 65 modules. to date, I think there's only about 4 loaded because, like you said, there's 2 of us and we're going into schools, and it'll probably take me until this summer to get all those modules loaded up onto that web page, but they can find them at Patterson Science Center and at the STEM department.
And how about summer camps? I know that's been something that you've been heavily involved in previous years. Will you continue to do that?
We have 2 planned in August, and they're going to be focused around Harry Potter, the Prisoner of Azkaban. That's what students have begged us to do for the past few years, so we do STEM-related camps where they do engineering around those novels.
How about the community-related or things that are across our county, like the Blue Ridge Electric piece? What are some activities that you have planned that our students and the community could be excited about?
Well, the first community activity we have planned is the science exhibition, which is going to be Wednesday, December 4th. It's at the National Guard Armory, and students across the district were invited to do a science fair project. It will be on display during 5 to 6 where the public can come out and see it and walk through and give students a little word of encouragement before they go on to the regional division at App State later this month. Our next community event is spontaneous team competitions, and that's in March. And we're going to do a Shark Tank where we have a panel of judges from Google and Excella. The students will be given materials. They'll have to use design thinking to come up with a prototype and then present that to their Shark Tank panel, among some other things. Another part will be robotics and coding. And then finally, in April, we're working with Blue Ridge Energy. Again, it will be held at the National Guard Armory to educate all the 4th grade students in our county about electricity, alternative energy, safety, and things like that.
I know one of the other roles that you're heavily involved in and you've been successful at is grant writing. And several of those grants have yielded services and training for our teachers, and which ultimately will be classes that can be taught with our students. One I'm really excited about is the computer science piece. But can you talk a little bit about what you've done in the grant world and what you're working on that's been afforded that opportunity to you by the grants?
I've had a lot of success, thankfully, in grant writing, and over the few years we've been able to get engineering as elementary through Boston Museum of Science curriculum. But the most recent grant that I'm very proud of is the coding and app development grant that was through DPI. The funds are being released, I think, next week, and we are going to develop a mobile classroom called Code on the Go, where we will take it around to all the schools in the district and teach students how to code and use coding language. We're also going to develop a middle school curriculum through code.org called CS Discoveries and train teachers this summer in how to implement that into their curriculum that they already use.
Now, when we do that with young students, the understanding, or I think the expectation would be that as students learn that at an early age, when they get into middle or high school, then we've got courses available for them to be able to naturally evolve into. Is that correct?
Yes. Now, CS Discoveries is middle school level, and we're hoping that they will eventually take CS Principles at the high school level, which I know one class is being taught now at High Brighton, so that they can get that AP level credit for computer science and go on, hopefully, to pursue it in college.
Okay. It's exciting to think about the work that's being done and the way we're expanding student thinking, and I think teachers as well. Is there anything else about the program or your responsibilities that you want to share that I didn't touch on?
One thing that teachers may not know is that we're trying to work on inventorying in the school district to see what's available, what we have, what we may have forgotten about, and what we may need to dispose of properly. So I will be working on that over the next few months, coming into classrooms, helping them figure out what's there and what they can actually check out or borrow from other schools. And then we're getting ready to get the Smithsonian science curriculum. I hope to be helping with that, and that's for grades 3-5, and that's a new exciting adventure that will start sometime this year.
Right. And I have a meeting about that on Thursday, so I'm excited to come back and tell you what I found out.
Okay.
Well, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us. We hope you'll come back for the second segment when I'll have Dr. Kim Case on the set with me. Thank you. Hello, and welcome back to segment 2 of today's show. On the set with me now I have Dr. Kim Case. Dr. Case is our Coordinator of Innovation and Online Education in the Caldwell County Schools. Dr. Case, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Now, the virtual education piece is a vision that I've had for the Caldwell County Schools that we're working on, and I've asked you to take that and run with it. Can you tell the public and others that may have an interest in, first of all, what virtual education, online education is, and then what we've learned and where we're at with that project?
I certainly can. Virtual online education is an academy for students who may not learn the traditional way in a seated class that provides courses to them through online platforms. We plan to use Canvas, which is used in our traditional high schools as well, but in a virtual sort of way. So distance learning, for instance, you may be in one place and education's happening in another. We currently are in the process of developing 2 courses. We've just decided that our first course will be physical science and be offered beginning January 22nd, so we're making good progress there. We've also developed a group of teacher leaders who are very interested in this idea of virtual learning and how it can benefit their students. So we're looking at building that network, stakeholder base. We've also talked with homeschoolers in our community about how we can provide them with services that they might not be able to get in the networks that they have.
You know, these live courses, or are they courses that students can access at their leisure or the time that's convenient for them?
For now, it's the time that's convenient for you. We may later on look at some live components to the course, but for now it offers flexibility in the time that you take the course. The progress that you make, the pace that you make is up to you, so that flexibility in today's schedule is a big deal.
And one thing I'm excited about is the fact that we're relying on Caldwell County Schools teachers to do the work. And we had a meeting a few weeks ago, and through the meeting and emails that I received, we probably have 60 or 70 individuals who are interested in the concept and being involved. Can you talk a little bit about the 3 roles that we've identified that a teacher might assume in this project?
Absolutely. The first role is course developer, and so those will be our qualified skilled teachers who are already teaching many of the courses that we'll offer. Developing the course, putting it in an online platform, working to see what's the best practice, to see the quality that we can incorporate. So they're course developers, their first role. Second role will be a reviewer, someone to look back through. Everybody needs a partner, so those will be the partners for our course developers. And the final role will be a course teacher. They'll actually interact with the students in the platform. A developer and a teacher could be the same person, but not necessarily. It could be a different person who develops and then a second person who teaches.
And this work would be done on a part-time basis, and it would not happen during the school day, correct?
Absolutely. It is a paid position, so it's outside of the regular school hours. There'll be some support that I'll offer in those after-school hours as needed, but it isn't outside of your regular school day position.
We have a lot of ideas in terms of expansion as we get larger with the component of student services and the counseling services, and working with particularly homeschool families who may not have a connection for the scholarships and things like that. So we're excited to see where this is going. But we're going to start with 2 classes in the spring, and then not sure, but we hope to expand significantly beyond that very quickly, correct?
I believe that we will. The interest is there. It's a great idea. Our ideas, purposes for this online academy, those ideas just keep growing, and so can't wait to see what it becomes. It's a very exciting time.
What have we learned from the other districts that you've talked with?
We've learned that we need reviewers. That was a key component. We need some accountability pieces built in so that we can monitor teachers, and not just for accountability, but for support. Team and collaboration, that's one of the biggest pieces that I keep getting, is this is a team project. It doesn't happen in isolation, even though sometimes when you're alone with that learning platform, you may feel like it, but it's a true collaborative piece, and we need to build that into our work.
You mentioned the homeschool population and looking at that particular group of students as being potential students with us. And what the public may not realize is that a homeschool student can roster in the public schools but still continue to be a homeschool student. And we've had a few meetings. How would you assess the excitement or energy or questions even that they've had in those meetings?
Outstanding. Most of our homeschoolers that we've met with in those focus groups say that they didn't leave public school because we weren't providing something they needed. They left because they wanted the flexibility. Well, this virtual academy allows them to have that flexibility and still be supportive of the public schools. So I see it as a win-win for both sides, for public schools and for homeschoolers, and to bring everyone back into a common purpose, which is building a better community.
It's an exciting partnership that I'm really interested to see where we can go with it. So That's a great concept and topic, I think. But let's talk about innovation. Again, another word that we hear quite a bit, maybe overused in some ways. But with respect to the work that you're doing in our school system, where would you capture, or what would you capture with respect to the term innovation as it relates to the work that we're working on?
Well, as I've researched innovation, it really is problem solving, related to engineering primarily. When you hear innovation, you think science, math, technologies, but it's also about problem solving for issues that may exist even in society. So how do we get products that will benefit us all? There's a state group called the Educational Innovation Network NC that's actually working on defining innovation and that work in North Carolina, because there's so many good innovative ideas, but they happen separate sometimes. So identifying where that best work is happening and how we use that creative mindset to move forward, look at things in a new way that we've never thought about before, and being open to that, that's innovation.
And we're going to do something with our next leadership meeting of an activity involving our principals and the leaders from the Ed Center. What is it that we're trying to accomplish in a task like that we ultimately would take to our teachers and then to our students?
Well, if you heard the first section of this program when we talked about engineering design, it's a way of thinking and a way of approaching ideas, not throwing everything out before it's had a chance to ruminate, ideate, create ideas, and then look at the practical piece of it. What can we actually do with the resources we have? So with our principals, because they're just key in anything that we do, we're looking at giving them some time and space to think, to problem solve, to think about resources and what's practical. How can we get where we want to go? We've talked a lot in our district about our why. So deciding what our purpose is in buildings and then as a district, and then figuring out how can we get there collectively.
And I think it's inappropriate to expect students to do that on their own without us having role models and giving them opportunities to do that. So that's why we want to start with our adults.
Oh yes, if we don't have those models, then it won't trickle down to our children. They have to see it in action.
Very good. In the other roles in terms of activities that you've been involved in this academic year that we haven't touched on, what other types of things are you exploring or looking at?
I spent quite a bit of time building partnerships, part of Leadership Caldwell, very proud to be there, visited businesses, looked at where we connect, how the schools are building those other organizations and how they build us. Worked with the city of Lenore a little bit with some of the festivals that were happening downtown with the Christmas Festival. So looking for partnerships, like-minded people, trying to find where design thinking's happening already. Finding connections, spent quite a bit of time finding connections, and then educating myself, learning where I need to learn more, what I need to know more. Maybe modeling that lifelong learning, that there's always something else to know that can benefit us.
Very good. Anything you want to share that I haven't touched on?
Oh, that we have just a fantastic team with our education staff, our educational program services. Appreciate all that they've done to support this role. Appreciate our principals and their patience in understanding what this role can be, and I look forward to working with them even more. Appreciate working with Amy and the STEM director. So partnerships, I'm grateful to be here and excited about all the things that are going to happen for our county.
I think one of our keys to success looking back down the road is going to be our partnership, our ability to forge partnerships, in some cases with individuals that you might not have thought would be a partner in education. And we've seen that in our business and industry community. We've seen it with faith-based partners and anyone who's willing to sit down with us to try to help us meet the needs of our students. So we thank you for your work and helping move us in that direction.
Thank you for allowing me to.
Thanks for being here today.
All right.
That'll conclude our program for today. Again, we thank you for joining us. We look forward to seeing you on our next show. Thank you.